All right, it is Wednesday. It's been a big week here at The View, and it's only getting bigger because now we're joined by Sara Haines. Hello, Sara.
That was a sweet intro. Thank you.
Thank you. So let's talk about the big news of today.
Yes.
Jimmy Kimmel was back on TV last night. It was his first show from the suspension, and I think it's probably not hyperbole to say it was probably one of the biggest shows of Jimmy Kimmel's career.
Yeah.
And what did you think? I thought he nailed it.
I was going to say he not only nailed it, it might be one of the best monologues he's ever done.
Yeah.
Because he touched every part of what he needed to say in such an authentic manner. And
right.
You kind of came with him when his voice cracked and he was speaking so honestly about how people interpreted what he said and how hurtful, even he would never say that.
Right.
But then all the way through the jokes, he had me laughing the whole time.
He certainly didn't lay off in any way.
No.
But he was also poignant and seemed sincere to me the entire way through.
Well, and also the fact that he did make it about bigger than his show. Like, that he's one kind of piece of a larger puzzle. The blessing is that we live in a place where we have this protected speech. And when he addressed the people that disagree with him and maybe really just don't like him, don't agree with anything he says, but they said that they deserved credit, and he named them. He didn't just say some people, he named them. And I liked that he said, you got to give him credit for that.
He was also genuinely very, very funny. And
hilarious.
And no doubt that was going to be the case, but it was really good. And it felt to me, I don't know, maybe it's an exaggeration, but it feels like free speech is in a little bit of a better place than it was 3 days ago. And that's a good thing.
I absolutely, and I do think he said thank you to the fans who, had spoken up, and I think that's the important part. Whoopi always says, we have to remember this comes down to us. It's the people. The uproar, although there are bad sides to mob mentality sometimes, I feel like sometimes they are out of proportion with the circumstances. The outcry over this, I think, was a reminder to everyone making decisions everywhere. This is about the people, and this is something no one's gonna kind of bow down for.
There were some, I being me, always look online and read everything everybody's writing, and there were some that had issues with him getting emotional and thought it was either it was too much or it was insincere or anything else. To me, it felt exactly authentic and touching and appropriate. I don't know.
Absolutely. And you could tell in the moments it happened that he was trying to just make a statement.
Right.
And what happens when you're about to get emotional or cry is everything clenches up and you could hear his voice catch. But I just thought it was literally a solid 10 performance. I've never seen him so good.
No, I got to say, I thought it was terrific. I worked in late night for a really long time,
Yeah.
and I've been in shows like that where, there were apologies or time back after a big event and things like that. So I know what that feels like, not maybe on that scale, but close. And I don't think he could have done any better.
I don't think he could have done it better.
All right, well, let's switch gears and talk about the other, and he made some funny jokes about this too. The other news of the week, the Trump administration warned pregnant mothers against taking Tylenol, saying that it may be linked to autism, despite limited evidence. It seems like there's some possible correlation, but not causation that's been proven, saying that that's not the case. You were passionate about this as somebody who's been pregnant multiple times. Tell me more about your feelings about it.
Well, I just think there's so much weight on pregnant women. And by the way, a lot of it is also just passed on things that people say,
right.
Don't do this, don't do that. You have your doctors. But then again, I said this on the show, every single person that you run into has an opinion about your pregnancy and they will share it. And a lot of people are well-intentioned, but it does leave a lot of weight when you're already in the throes of pregnancy, battling everything that comes with that, from hormones to restrictions to your ever-changing body and mind and not knowing how to feel. I had some depression through pregnancy and massively after too. And I look at my friends who struggle with fertility, and I think in some ways I was lucky because for the baggage I carried, I can't imagine if I fought so hard to be pregnant.
Right.
And then you're uncomfortable or something, and doctors will tell you fevers are not something you want. You also don't want your child pumped full of the cortisol that we pump into our kids as we stress out. So putting anything more on the plate of a pregnant woman without absolute data and numbers and causation, not just correlation, it is it breaks my heart for anyone that's dealing with that now, because hearing it even now, and I definitely took Tylenol through my pregnancies, I would hesitate.
I've also heard from friends and friends of friends who a little bit have posted on social media about this. People that are raising autistic children or dealing with this are now frustrated at the idea that there's being blame put on them in some way.
Because again, so I have someone very close to our family who we're just discovering is on the spectrum a little and has some.
So many people are.
Yeah, so many delays. But I didn't want to ask this person because I felt if I were in her shoes, I would immediately be replaying everything I did and didn't do.
Do you even remember if you took Tylenol during any of your pregnancies?
Well, I remember being sick, and I remember getting it was a stomach bug. No, it wasn't a stomach bug. But I remember being sick, and it was on top of the pregnancy, and thinking, "Wow, this is just the universe hitting you twice."
Right.
But I remember being. I definitely took Tylenol at least in one pregnancy, if not all. And I wouldn't have hesitated because my mom's a nurse. My sisters have all had babies. I know that's one thing that to me I could suss out as appropriate if needed.
And it's worth saying, by the way, that it is good to put resources to studying if there are root causes of autism, 100%. But just, I think the concern and what the table was saying is the idea that you want to make sure that it is really high level science that you're really carefully studying, and the idea that it was rushed in some way or that they put a deadline on it, that we're going to have this answer in 2 months and then pump it out to the public.
Well, and by the way, that book I recommended, Emily Oster, Expect Better, was brilliant because I'm a information-driven person. And so as a pregnant woman, when you read this book, it goes through kind of what are the risks and what are the return, or, is it equal? Is it, and almost out of every warning that people say, just be careful, be careful. I think only one ended up being enough data for her to say, I would definitely not eat lunch meat, but beyond that, every other warning, she was like, going through the actual studies and data and making her own conclusions, because she, as an economist, she couldn't walk through a pregnancy just taking these statements and running with it.
Now, you mentioned before that people gave you a lot of opinions while you were pregnant. How did you deal with that? Did you get annoyed by it? Did you just smile and nod? What did you do?
No, I like anyone, even though I can in retrospect see that everyone had an opinion, I knew it came from a beautiful place. There's nothing more magical, honestly, as hard as pregnancy was for me, than a pregnancy. And it is the most awesome responsibility and gift I've ever been given, was to have my babies. And yet every day you beat yourself up at times because, by the way, your hormones are literally all over the place. I'm already I feel lots of things. Now pump that times 50. That's me in pregnancy.
I remember.
And so I think you had a few phone calls during that, Brian. But that roller coaster of, you're in charge. You're the one person. Because even though your partner is involved, anything that happens, you feel directly responsible for.
Of course. I think that if we talk about these things, then maybe people will give it a second thought before they give advice that maybe isn't needed or something like that.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about the other big View event this week, which was former Vice President Kamala Harris. She was here yesterday. She said a lot. It was been reported everywhere. What were your takeaways?
I think the interview was awesome. I was actually really proud of her for writing the book. So as someone at our table who continually says, people say, why are we rehashing the election? Look at who we ended up with.
It's a big debate we have at the table in the Hot Topics meeting. Why are we looking why are we navel gazing or whatever else?
And it's not about beating a dead horse. It's literally, to me, as an independent, I was really put off, as someone who supported the Democratic ticket, by when concerns were raised about like Biden's age, and it was less about just he's old or he's not well. It was more, you are running for 4 more years. So I'm not saying you're not doing a great job right now, but this is a long job, and it is the most consequential one in the world to be the president of the United States. So if you're tired or you're not well or whatever it is, it's okay if a voter says, I'm a little concerned. But everyone was told to shut up, fall in line, and there's nothing to see here, even though people actually saw something during that debate. So that really frustrated me. And I think as I watch what Vice President Harris was given in 107 days, I was critical of her as a candidate. I was critical of President Biden stepping down. And yet I think this book needed to happen. I don't think it should be grouped with all the other, oh, we're rehashing, we're rewriting books. If I were in her shoes, I would want to go down on record too. Because the bottom line is, in those kinds of jobs and the type of person we're not close, but she seems to be, I would probably have done some of the same things in loyalty. And as you take on these awesome responsibilities and you reach these levels of jobs, there's going to be a little falling in line and shutting your mouth. I would never want to go down in the history books without at least having record of what happened to me.
Yeah.
So I was really proud that she wrote the book. And again, this is not as someone, I think there are a lot of people that monetize the afterthought, like, oh, now we're writing a book. I won't name names, but people that are like, I'm now going to chime in for money. That's not how I see this book. It's actually in a lane of its own. But I was really excited to see her for another reason, because my kids were here.
I saw that. Did they get to meet her?
Yes. And you don't even understand the excitement and they know who she is.
Of course.
And they kept wanting to call her. I kept saying, Vice President Harris, Vice President Harris, because this day and age, they call everyone by all their name, you know. But so they did address her correctly, but she got down eye level, talked to them. She goes, I have a message. Can you tell your teachers that Vice President Harris has a message for them about thank you for what you do? And I swear I've never seen Alec in like so much shock. He just like kind of sat there. And then after the show, I guess he passed her in the hallway and he's like, Mama, I saw her again and she high-fived me. He was so excited.
I saw that. That was really cute.
Oh my gosh. But then flashback to the election. We, both Max and I are big, maybe I carry it down from my parents, but when I was growing up, my parents taught me, you can ask someone if they voted, but you shouldn't say, who'd you vote for?
Right.
It's a very personal decision. Now, this predates the era we're in now, obviously.
Yeah.
But I kind of always adhered to that's a private decision. Not everyone's going to feel comfortable sharing.
Right.
So I've always told the kids that, and they harassed us last year. Who'd you vote? Who'd you vote? And one day I said, because Max was like, we're a united front here. We need to both be saying this to them. And I was like, yeah, I agree. Sandra goes, Mama, please tell me you voted for the girl. And I just thought,
identity politics starting already.
Well, and then we used it as a teaching moment, because I said, I would vote for someone more than them just being a girl.
Yeah.
So I said, you're going to have to get invested when you're voting, and you have to know about what people stand for. You only have two options, and you're not always going to agree with Mama. You're not always going to agree with Papa, and that's okay. But you've got to do your research and you've got to participate. So
it is interesting because often, my politics are different than my parents' politics were, or at least some of my parents.
Yeah.
And, you just assume that your children will have the same as you, but there's no guarantees of that.
No, but what's funny is some days it really upsets me, because I think what a success story if you're able to. My parents raised 4 kids. And now we're also the type that doesn't mete out politics at every dinner table.
Us either. Yeah.
There's some issues. I don't know how like my sisters feel. I don't even know how to guess actually on some of what they might see, because I think there's probably nuance there. But I tell Max this all the time. I said, I will never be prouder than if I raise kids that have their own opinions.
Right.
So sometimes I wonder, because I'm probably the furthest from my parents in politics. And I sometimes wish they'd say, we're so proud of you. Like, we're so proud of you that you found your own way, even though you disagree. And I said, I promise one day I will utter those words. Because
That's great.
if my kids are critical thinkers, they should not just agree with me. And Max and I don't agree. So you're going to have disagreement there. And I hope that I'm the parent that applauds it.
Yeah, I think it's a noble idea.
Yeah.
I think so for sure. All right. Speaking of noble ideas, there was an article in the New York Times about fighting with your spouse.
Yes.
And experts say there are clear steps you can take to move forward. They say that you should take a break, apologize for your part, have a closing conversation, and finish with a palate cleanser. This sounds like a
Are
meal.
we eating?
Yeah,
Is
we're
there-
eating somewhere.
Is there a toast?
What do you and Max do when you're in a fight?
Okay, so I actually stole this from Sarah Blakely, the founder of Spanx. She once posted something that just hit me right in the heart. She said whenever she's fighting with her husband, and they've been married for, I think, multiple decades, they have 4 kids or something, she said, we slow dance. And the rule is, if your partner asks you to slow dance, you can't say no. And funny enough, we put it in, and it is so hard because it is not a romantic dance ask. Like when it happens, it's like, can we slow dance? Like you're just annoyed. But the second you get close, I'm not joking, it has worked 100% of the time.
Fascinating.
So now we also implement it with the kids. I once saw a mom that put a t-shirt over the kids when they were fighting to sit in the same t-shirt. I do the 30-second hug. 5 seconds in, they are rolling on the floor laughing. Because something about being that close to the person, touching them, it almost takes away all the heat and anger in a way that sets the stage for more productive conversations.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
We just ignore each other for several days and
No,
hope
I
that
know,
it'll
because
eventually
I've
fade
gotten
away.
phone calls about that.
Yes. All right. Well, we'll try this. I think
Okay.
that's good. I will say the best.
But you have to tell Heather she can't say no. It's not a because that only perpetuates the power dynamic and the vulnerability of
Yes.
asking.
All right. I'll give it a shot.
Okay.
I will say the best marriage advice I've ever gotten, and I think this is true, and I have trouble holding myself to it.
Yeah.
It's if you're going to eventually say yes anyway, don't fight the fight. So if it's something like
But
if
why would you?
I do, like, for instance, if, like,
What?
if she
That
wants
sounds
to
like fighting for fun, and it's not fun. That's like
for like principle, I do sometimes, and it's
But
not
like
worth
what?
it. Like, for instance, if she wants to go do something on a Saturday night and it's not what I want to do, I'm gonna end up acquiescing anyway. But I do it begrudgingly and complain about it for 6 days and then do it, as opposed to I should just say I'm gonna go anyway. I should just stop and not let her know that I don't want to go and just do it.
You mean like if she's making you do something you don't want to do?
Yes, I'm saying jump to the end of the problem. So at the end of the if you know in your heart, I'm going to take the garbage out anyway. I'm going to get up and miss the end of the football game because I've got to tear down boxes
Yep.
and take the garbage out. Rather than have a fight about it first and then do it, I should just do it.
So I love this, and it kind of supports one of the things that I think is the best advice I ever got, which is never forget your partner's your teammate, because you know how easy, and I feel like 10 jokes coming out of your mouth right now, but like if you look at your partner and always know they're on the same team, the goals are the same, and their intentions are always good, and it's all problem solving. Because if you had a good friend and I say, let's go here, and you're like, no, I don't want to, you'd use your words differently because they're not
Right.
laced with all the emotion of marriage and all its, bitterness or old fights or narratives. It's
Well, also the idea that they have to love you anyway, so you don't have to try as hard. Yes.
We take some of that away, but if you actually always look at each other as we're actually on the same team, and this person always has a good intention. They're not trying to make me mad. It changes the way you look at an argument or a disagreement.
All right. You and I fight about twice a year, I would say.
Yeah.
Maybe 3 times.
It's usually when I'm emotional
Yes.
and you're being yourself.
Yes.
And I can't handle it.
Right. So I'm gonna.
Which I guess we're both being ourselves in that.
Yeah. I think in front. I'll make sure there's people present. But
Wait, but my favorite thing is when you do this, you're like, so I have this joke, but I don't know if you are in the right place. I'm like, yeah, go. And you'll say the silliest thing. And I love that you're cautious.
That's new.
You never see that, but it's you making a work marriage effort. That's really
I'm
cute.
trying, yes.
Yeah.
All right, but now I may pull out a slow dance at some point. I'll make sure there's like other people present, so it's not inappropriate. But if need be,
Didn't we have a safe word once?
yes,
Octopus?
we did. It was octopus. To be clear, it was an emotional safe word.
That everyone knows that.
I am sometimes. I make jokes.
You can go for you can go really hard, and I find it funny for the first 99 jokes. It's always that 100th one
joke.
where I just am worn out and I'm
Yeah.
like, now I'm dead.
Yeah.
Thanks, Brian.
All right. So octopus is on the table,
Okay.
and now in an emergency, I'll call for a slow dance. But we'll do
Please
it.
do it 8th grade style, stiff
Yeah,
arm.
that's fine. That's appropriate. All right. We don't want to get HR involved.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Thank you for joining me today, Sarah. Tomorrow, I'll be back with Anna Navarro, where we have to talk about the fact that on last week's Weekend View,
Her twin story. It has haunted me ever since, Brian.
she was dating a twin.
Visited the other twins in town. Can you take him shopping? She
said it
doesn't
on
want
the
the
Weekend
twins
View.
to find out about it.
I mean, that is just crazy. All right. So, like, you're attracted to your husband.
Yeah.
If there was another Max,
It would freak me out. So I always have best friends that are twins.
Yes.
But twins walking around freely in the world, I don't think I could date two. It
No.
feels like, how did they do that twice?
yeah.
I can't.
Well, then you don't want to find out how they do that twice.
No, but I guess with Anna,
I-
two things were not the same.
Yeah, that's what she said. All right, we're going to get more of this on the Anna Navarro podcast. Thank you for joining us, and we'll talk to you then.